Welcome back to iBorn Sri Lanka, ladies and gentlemen. We were in discussion with Mr. Abdul Wahid just a while ago. He is the president of the Rotary Club of the Arts Faculty, the Colombo University Arts Faculty. When he left the studio, we also brought in another very special person to our studios. He is Mr. Ishan Jalin. Good morning, Mr. Ishan Jalin.
Good morning to you, and good morning to all our viewers on Prime TV.
Definitely. Well, he is the president of the Young Voices of Sri Lanka, and also he is going to be a keynote speaker in the Disability Rights Convention. My first question, how do you feel about having this convention, having accepted your suggestion?
I will talk about it in two levels. Me being a Rotary actor and me being the president of Young Voices. So as Young Voices, we have always campaigned since 2006 for awareness about disability rights. Okay, and we want to make sure that in a country like Sri Lanka, in a developing country like Sri Lanka, disability rights are known by the people. Disability rights are recognized by the people. Disability rights are respected by the people. That's the main criteria behind Young Voices in Sri Lanka. Because Young Voices is not only in Sri Lanka, Young Voices is the youth movement of Leonard, Cheshire disability, and it has its groups in 20 other countries other than Sri Lanka. So as Young Voices Sri Lanka, we are focusing on the rights of persons with disabilities to be recognized, respected, and also there's this particular convention, because I need to make a small correction with regard to Abdul's statement about it's not actually constitution, it's convention. So there's a document called the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, or UNCRPD. So that document, that particular document has been signed by the Sri Lankan government. And that too was an achievement of Young Voices, since the Ministry of Social Welfare sent us a letter thanking us for the commitment we showed in order to sign the document. So coming back to your question, that is how I feel that being accepted for doing this, for bringing this proposal. As a Rotary actor and as a member of Young Voices, as the president of Young Voices, I always wanted to create awareness in all levels, especially university level, because since I am a university student, I wanted to create awareness amongst academia and university students. So
when it comes to, I'm sorry for disturbing, but when it comes to the rights, what sort of rights are we talking about? What sort of rights have been violated by the general public or by any violator to the disabled?
Okay, basic thing, right to non-discrimination.
Right to non-discrimination.
Yes, that has definitely been violated. I tell this with responsibility, because in Sri Lanka, in many public and private companies, and even in the road, disabled persons are being looked at as some kind of different creatures, whereas disabled persons are human beings, not anything else. Now, especially employment, in terms of employment, there's a particular government regulation saying that all public sector institutions should take in 3% of persons with disabilities in their employment areas, whereas it is clearly not done. And that is what we call discrimination. Because persons are disabled, they are being discriminated.
What sort of other rights have been violated? If you talk per se, that discrimination is definitely one of them, as you just mentioned. But talk about the other levels of rights that have been violated in a country like Sri Lanka.
Accessibility.
Okay.
That is one main point. Now, me being a blind person, right? And to give a small description about disability. Disability is not only being blind, and there are many forms of disability. There are hearing impaired people, there are wheelchair users, there are physically impaired people, and there are people with multiple disabilities and mentally challenged. Those are the forms of disability. So will take for an example a wheelchair user.
Yeah.
Can he or she go to a cinema theatre and watch a movie? No, because in this country the cinema theatres are not accessible for wheelchair users.
Yeah.
The way they have been created are not accessible for wheelchair users. So how can, if they are willing, if someone is really passionate on watching a movie or something like that, how can that person go and watch a movie on his or her own?
Well, coming back to the Disability Rights Convention, what sort of programs can we look forward to in the Disability Rights Convention itself?
Okay, so I'll give a description about the Disability Rights Convention which we are going to hold, and I am really proud to say that this is the first time in Sri Lanka that a Disability Rights Convention is going to be held, right? So it's going to take place on the 3rd of March from, as Abdul said, from 1 to 3 p.m. at the university premises, and it's called the B.Ed auditorium, or the B.Ed in the sense Bachelor of Education, that's the faculty.
Yeah.
That faculty auditorium only we are going to have this convention. So it's basically to create awareness about disability rights.
Yeah.
And the program basically will be lectures. I'll be giving a speech on the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
Okay.
An introductory speech. And then Mr. Ali Zaki from Leonard, Cheshire Disability, he will be giving a legal assessment of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in terms of Sri Lanka, in the context of Sri Lanka. And then Dr. Ajit C.S. Pereira will be the keynote speaker. He will give the keynote address on the issue of accessibility.
Okay.
Because he has been a person who publicly campaigned for accessibility of persons with disabilities.
Okay, so moving on with the program, you said that you were the president of the Young Voices of Sri Lanka. Can you elaborate further? What is the Young Voices of Sri Lanka? What have they done in Sri
Okay,
Lanka?
so coming back to that point, Young Voices. Young Voices is the youth movement of Leonard, Cheshire Disability, as I told you earlier. And Young Voices in Sri Lanka began in May 2006.
Okay.
Okay, so we have 5 Young Voices branches in Sri Lanka. That is Colombo, Galle, Matara, Hambantota and Trincomalee. And there are 78 Young Voices members.
Okay.
Okay, so this is all, the Young Voices consists of all persons with disabilities from the age of 16 to 25. Our main aim is to promote, protect and ensure that the rights of persons with disabilities are recognized and respected. In order to do so, the main document, which is actually our Bible, is the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
What is the UN Convention of the Rights Convention, as you just mentioned? Can you explain to us what the UN Convention holds?
Okay, the UN Convention, to give a briefing about that, the UN Convention is a document which came into being on the 13th of December 2006, which is a collaboration of the UN, obviously, and many other NGOs. This is the first, actually, even according to very reliable UN sources, this document which I am having right now is the first inclusive document which the UN has drafted so far. That is, this document has been a result of the opinions and ideas of many NGOs, corporate sector, the general public and so on, and disability rights activists in that sense.
Okay. With all due respect to you, Mr. Jalil, talking about your personal life, how has the cause, the thing that you are visually impaired affected you in your life?
Okay, to answer that question, I must say that the effect of me being a visually impaired person in a country like Sri Lanka is a bit complicated.
Complicated?
Yes.
Okay.
Complicated, when I say complicated, I mean in certain instances, like most of, as in my life, I have made a lot of achievements. I have done many things which others have not even thought of doing. Because I did my A-levels at St. Thomas's College.
Okay.
And I joined the rowing crew in college. And I did rowing as a sport.
You did rowing as a sport?
Yes.
Okay.
So that itself shows that, you know, persons with disabilities, if they are given the opportunity, can, as in, if they are given the opportunity, sky is the limit.
Okay. Once again, with all due respect, I am finding a little bit difficult to answer to ask such questions. But do tell us, you being visually impaired, haven't it ever affected your life in the sense that you are not being able to see anything? Haven't it occurred to you in any sense?
Not really, because me being a blind person,